This session will deal with the future of neurodiversity, respecting and valuing the new diversity. As we have talked about the future directions, taking into consideration the controversies, the spectra, the conditions, the shift in paradigm. So all these amount to the future of neurodiversity and actually giving us a roadmap. How can we respect and value this new diversity? Neurodiversity has long been misunderstood. The term neurodiversity, as we know, refers to variation in the human brain, namely the sociability, attention, mood and learning. We all know that the phrase was coined by Judy Singer in 1998, and it refers to the people who have, for example, autism, dyspraxia, dyslexia, ADHD, social anxiety disorders, and so on and so forth. This presentation will focus on notable voices and opinions on respecting and valuing neurodiversity. Also, what to value and how to value. We will deal with some organizations speaking, sharing their experiences on neurodiverse people. We will also cruise into leveraging, realizing and accepting neurodiversity paradigm. We begin with two things, a fact and a record. The fact is neurodiversity envelops people who have been diagnosed with neurological differences. And the record keeps in India. 1 in 100 children shows signs of autism and 1 in every 8 children are diagnosed with some form of the neurodevelopmental condition. Why are we talking about this record? Because this will give us a shape to change, to value, to respect and include all together. Well, what if it is said there exists a group, a very large but scarcely noticed group of humans living among the general population? Persons who have historically faced and face now an ongoing cultural disregard, disengagement and despair, not because of any difference of obvious physical attributes, but rather because of their neurology. The differences in the way their minds work. Apparently, they show no physical symptoms. Actually, there are no signboard hanging in front of them, warning these people to not go into certain places. There are no visible symbols of oppression, and yet they still suffer socially, occupationally, and relationally, day in and day out. These persons come in every color, every ethnic background, and from every socio-economic group. Dear participants, we are talking about a group of people who have played a powerful, substantial, but disregarded role in much of our medical, science, arts, and cultural development, and we are unaware of the facts. They are nearly physically indistinguishable from the rest of the humanity, but for the variance of their minds from a neurotypical perspective. As the neurotypical perspective is the accepted perspective in the society, neurodiversity of the neurodiverse brain is considered to be different. But this notion carries a negative connotation with it. They think differently, they work differently. They have strengths which are unimaginable. Now, what the experts say, as we see, noted author and researcher Steve Silberman adds his voice to many others in pointing out autism has almost likely been with humanity for as long as humans have been on Earth. In fact, Dr. Temple Grandin humorously notes that autistic people were probably inventing the spear while neurotypical people stood around the campfire chatting. Now, this ridicule is something which can add value to respect neurodiversity at large. How is it that autistic persons have been working behind the curtains of human history for as long as they have and not been on center stage? Have we ever thought of it? Well, a new dawn is rising, and in circumstance, a movement is now underway towards it, when all human beings will be accepted for not only the color of their skin or other visible attributes, but for the colors of their minds. We live as we have always lived, in a neurodiverse world. Until now, we have been able to act in willful ignorance, in disregard of autistic persons living among us. To add to this experts speak, we have Harshavendra Soy, Chief People Officer, Tech Mahindra. He opines that research on neurodiversity has shown that people with such special abilities possess a higher level of talent in certain areas. And these areas are particularly mathematics and research. Their abilities and talents make them different from the rest. Hence, having such unique talent in our workplaces can be extremely beneficial. It can take out the drudgery. They can contribute to the creativity, innovation. In line with it, Anil Jalali, a senior HR leader and former CHRO, Capgemini, has a similar opinion. He says, neurodiverse people aren't necessarily less cognitive in nature. It is just that they possess differently wired neurology. They may need their own specific accommodation. So before respecting and valuing, we need to realize the needs, and accordingly we can create accommodations to accept. So now we come to the aspect of respecting. While onboarding such differently able talent, one has to ensure that they are able to complement their capabilities and get accepted amongst other colleagues in an organization. Sunaina Khanna, Chief People Officer, Bajaj Capital, advises, while 98% of the people are neurotypical, we must take the responsibility of the remaining 1 to 2% who can also add tremendous value given the way they think and interpret situations. Similarly, Ramesh Mitra Botri, CHRO, Ultratech Siemens, offers a solution to this problem, or we would better say it, this issue. According to him, organizations will have to adopt an unconventional mindset to hire and accommodate neurodiverse people. So this is how we can start the respect, that they are not downtrodden. They are not someone who can't do anything, but can contribute in a different way, maybe in a more innovative way. Now we come to a supreme voice, as we all know Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He saw it, believed it, to the core of his person. He saw his fellow human persons as complete persons of infinite value and worth. His legacy envelops the coming day of freedom, liberation from disregard, and the dawning of a day of true neurodiversity. We are so blessed to have this motivated words, which can actually refrain our thinking, our negative thinking, and give us a gush of air which may contribute to the innovativeness of these neurodiverse people. It is an advantage that they have their brain differently wired. And that adds beauty to their characteristics, their thinking, and their outcome. There is much meaningful learning for the practitioner, but also an opportunity for the setting and the wider profession to consider the potential of a paradigm shift in supporting young neurodivergent people from an increasingly person-centered perspective, in what may potentially be one of the most challenging transitions of their lives. This has been purported by Biggs and Carter in 2016, where constructs such as autonomy and empowerment could be central to both development and quality of life. Having listened to the different voices of the experts, we now come to view what the organization holds regarding this neurodivergent people. Let me cite a diversity and inclusion leaders journey. In 2016, EY is a company launched a neurodiversity program which now employs more than 100 professionals with cognitive challenges in 6 neurodiversity centers of excellence, also known as COEs. With 3 more on the way, the program was created with 3 key goals. These 3 key goals were: create a culture of inclusion, leverage untapped talent to meet demand for employees and specific types of work, impact society in a positive way. EY neurodiverse professionals bring not just above average productivity and work quality, their fresh way of thinking has sparked innovation. They have also created a stronger workplace culture across the EY organization. So this fresh way of thinking has actually created a niche of inclusive culture, which is very important, be it in an education institutions or across any organization or enterprise. So far, we were talking about neurodivergent people in general. So we now focus into valuing neurodivergent learners. How can we value them? What are the positive things that can come out of a neurodivergent learners that may help us to include them in our system? So there are some components of positive niche construction. These are, we have to be aware of their strengths. So strength awareness is one of the major components. The positive role models identification. Not to mention the assistive technology or the universal design for learning for the neurodivergent learners in an inclusive setting. To deploy strength-based learning strategies to uphold their spirit, to bring about their maximum outcome. Also, nurturing of human resources to bring out the best from them. Nevertheless, positive career aspiration also holds a key role to create a positive niche for the neurodivergent learners for their future. And last but not the least, environmental component. To create a condition, to create a supportive environment that can actually take the lead to give an inclusive culture, an inclusive setting to neurodivergent learners. The focus of leveraging, realizing and accepting the neurodiverse group, the neurodivergent people, is the key factor in giving us the basis of sensitization, the way people can get sensitized. Sensitization is much more than awareness. It is being aware and also reacting in a positive way after getting the entire information and also the capabilities to act in a positive way. Like a diverse ecosystem, variation is almost certainly beneficial to humankind, and neurodivergence in individuals can come with advantages too. We remember that neurodiversity encompasses everyone, This is the real power of the concept and the key way that it differs from some other language around classroom inclusion. Neurodiversity frees us from identifying, labeling, and ameliorating specific difficulties by instead encouraging us to provide accessible and inclusive education to the whole class, not just selected individuals who may also need additional support, and to approach each learner on their own terms, regardless of the diagnostic level. The more we accept that diversity is the space of life, and if we are not celebrating diversity, we cannot celebrate independence. Now, what are the notions that come into our mind and we feel like saluting them? So let us salute some of the notions. Neurodiversity can enhance an institution or organization's ability to innovate and solve problems. Yet many employees with neurodevelopmental differences have encountered less than ideal experiences in terms of getting hired, being supported at work and growing in their careers. So we need to come forward and accept a change, because this change will lead us to innovation, creativity, and a sense of independence among all. Human beings are different from each other in their own ways, but sometimes the level of difference reaches an extent where it begins to impact the work. Therefore, organizations should prudently assign people with special abilities jobs that can benefit from their talent. Following a different process for them can be done by not judging their capabilities, but by changing the interview patterns and methods of screening their skills, be it in educational institutions or company or any enterprises, organizations, whatever. So these things can bring about a positivity and a proper sensitization among people. Now we come to the end of this session, where we will sum up the crux of this presentation. Understanding and valuing diversity are at the heart of the professional values of social justice, integrity, trust, and respect. We can't deny that. Being human, we have to promote, we have to advocate these. It is only by continually developing your understanding of the full range of diversity and what that means for individual learners or people that you can achieve meaningful inclusive practice. A set of suggestions is formulated based on observations such as the lack of a multidisciplinary approach, poor levels of coordination, low levels of inclusion in the education sector, from the research survey to improve the support provided to the neurodiverse community. As we have already mentioned, that more researches in this field may bring about a positive outcome in more accepting, valuing, leveraging, and celebrating this notion of neurodiversity. Based on these evidence-based solutions, further research can be conducted to mitigate the problems faced by the neurodiverse community and its coexisting support system. The reality is that unemployment in neurodivergent people runs as high as 80%, and the highest levels of bias are thought to be against employees with some neurodiversity conditions like Tourette's syndrome and ADHD. And this is how we can bring about inclusion and can account to one of the good practices.